Nick Fury. He is the most dangerous existence in the world. Mie Ba said, I knew I was wrong when I saw him take out 90.9 infinite gemstones from his crotch. Doctor Strange. As soon as I sent Domam away, this dimension demon in the shadow dimension came to persecute me. Tang San. So persecuting me, I see you have a way to take death. Herzog. I've been planning for so many years, and in the end, I've destroyed this guy. Li Yi. I'm sorry everyone, who made my system such a thing. Infinite heavens, starting with Steve's panel, how can we lose? Li Yi smiled slightly and said, it's time to invite TNT. 12 talismans, ghost masks, and countless abilities from games and movies converge on Li Yi Marvel Movie Universe, Dragon Clan, Dolua, Dupo. It's okay if you haven't watched them. I told them in great detail and the story was long. Let's take our time. One day, I, Li Yi, will hold the heavenly sword, wear the most beautiful armor, have a variety of bloodlines, and be equipped with colorful buffs, so that no one dares to stop my path. Now, set a small goal and let me go home first. Keywords of the novel. Infinite heavens. Starting from obtaining the Steve panel, there are no pop-ups. Infinite heavens. Starting from obtaining the Steve panel, download the complete TXT collection. Infinite heavens. Starting from obtaining the Steve panel, read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Marvel. No. It's the heavens. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Marvel. No. It's the heavens. The road is bustling with traffic, with bright lights on the roadside, high-rise buildings, luxury car villas. Light is red, wine is green, and money is drunk. This is New York. Manhattan in 2008 is undoubtedly one of the most developed places in the world. In a remote building where the lights of this era cannot shine, Li Yi sits quietly by the window, watching the news. Tony Stark's gossip has skyrocketed again, and this time which weekly magazine girl was taken by this billionaire. He patted his forehead with a headache. What's going on? What's this world? Yes, he is not from this world. 2 days ago, he was hit by a mud truck on the road and came to this world, which is called the Marvel movie world. His original body should have been cremated now. Who knows how he got dressed, and just after crossing over, due to language barriers and wearing clothes in this world without status, coupled with incorrect cashiers, he sold all his watch accessories and rented such a small room. This is just barely settling in. If he doesn't rent a house, he wouldn't dare to sleep on the street in this place with the world's top crime rate. And now, he has run out of food left, with only his clothes and a phone left all over his body. He probably won't find any more work and will have to go begging on the street. And now, he looked bored at the light curtain in front of him, which was a panel suspended in mid-air that only he could see. Yes. He has a system called Infinite Persecution. Current host. Li Huahua host bloodline. Human host properties. 5 is the pinnacle of humanity, durability. 1.0 spirit. 4.2 power. 2.0 skill. None warehouse. None negative emotion value. 0 world. Marvel MCU world. Li Yi looked at the panel and his head started to ache again. How many times have I said it? My name is Li Yi. Li Yi. It's not Li Huahua. The system didn't respond at all, which made Li Yi angry. Looking at the pitiful low points on the panel, his head grew bigger and bigger. As a former office worker, his physical attributes were really poor. Li Yi continued to look bored at the system interface and casually opened the user manual of the system. The Infinite Persecution system allows hosts to travel through various worlds and obtain negative emotional values by persecuting others. The stronger the system, the higher the negative emotional values given by characters who are more related to the plot. There are 3 types of lucky draws available through negative emotional values. 1,000, 10,000, and 100,000. The new world can be obtained through a lottery, and each world's travel time is 3 months. Li Yi is a bit speechless. He is just an ordinary person. Who can he persecute? This system also gives him a tasteless and regretful type of food. He looked at the world panel with only one Marvel option and couldn't help but sigh again. Having read so many travel novels, I didn't expect it to be my turn today, but I don't want to travel. I'm not an orphan. Yes, he has parents, and the family is very harmonious. For the heavens and all realms, he still feels that the original world is a bit better. Although very ordinary, according to the system, it is possible to return to the original world by drawing world cards, but how can I start the game with my thin arms and legs? At this moment, Li Yi suddenly noticed a super small gift package in the bottom right corner of the system interface, which he thought was a bug. Ding, as the host Li Huohua opened the beginner gift pack. Li Yi was taken aback for a moment, then became furious and said, "Are you hiding your newbie gift package so deep?" Ding, the host Li Huohua does not require a beginner gift package. Should we discard it? Li Yi quickly replied, "No, no, no. Open it. Open it quickly. My good system." Ding. Congratulations to Li Huohua for opening the beginner gift pack. He has won 1,000 gold coins once in a lottery, 10,000 gold coins once in a lottery, 100,000 gold coins once in a lottery, and 1 world card. Quick draw. Ding, the host will draw 1,000 gold coins to receive the prop Prison Rock Sword. Ding, the host will draw 10,000 gold coins to obtain the skill Rabbit Spell. Ding, the host will draw 100,000 gold coins to obtain the skill Steve's Panel. Ding, host lottery world card to win the world Dragon Clan Jailrock Sword. From the game Terraria, the mineral Jailrock obtained from Hell, combined with a powerful sword blade made of obsidian, can allow you to traverse Hell with its power. If it's a succulent mountain queen, then let me not say, Rabbit Spell, ability. From the world of Jackie Chan's adventures, it is one of the most powerful demons in the world. The ability possessed by the Holy Lord is not a spell state, but the ability of the Holy Lord himself, which can enable the owner to obtain rapid superpowers. The fastest speed is determined by the host's own strength. Don't run too fast, the body cannot bear it, and too fast men are not liked. Steve's Panel. Steve's ability from my world. With this panel, you will have a data-driven body, tireless stamina, a backpack that can hold 36 fixed items, and you will have some of Steve's physical fitness. Do you think it's Captain America Steve Rogers? Is this enough for a 100,000 draw? Joke. This is a golden legend. Li Yi was stunned. Good guy, he thought it would be great to start straight, but he didn't expect this to be a golden legend. Li Yi knows about the Jailrock Sword. Terraria is a sandbox game that Li Yi has played with friends before. Jailrock Sword is a high-level weapon in the first stage of the game, with a powerful burning effect. The Rabbit Talisman is even more powerful than any other. In martial arts, the only way to break it is to be fast, but the most outrageous thing is the one below, Steve's Panel. Who is Steve? A ruthless person who picks up 64 solid gold blocks with a side length of 1 meter with one hand. Even if he only inherits some of his physical fitness, he should have started off as a genius. And Steve also has a backpack that is comparable to Rules, which perfectly solves the problem of the system warehouse not being able to store things. However, he is a bit worried that he won't turn into a square face, right? He still can't bear this handsome face. He wears it, not like those individuals. Its soul-piercing system, enable Steve's Panel, quickly. Ding, hostly cremated using Steve's Panel. Then, he suddenly felt a strange experience. It's not painful, nor comfortable. This feeling is very strange. There's a feeling of not getting enough sleep in the morning but having to get up from bed and go to work. It's like floating on air. Then he seemed to feel his vitality turning into 10 drops of blood. As the feeling continued to rise, he seemed to be able to describe it as a transition of the essence of life, from carbon-based organisms to data-driven organisms. The transition of life has come to an end, and his appearance has not changed. He is still as handsome as before. Wait. And the most important thing. He immediately looked down at himself. Still there. Great. Current host. Li Huahua host bloodline. Human host properties. 5 is the pinnacle of humanity, durability. 10 spirit. 4.2 strength. 15.2 ability. Datization negative emotion value. 0 world. Marvel MCU world, Dragon World Warehouse. Prison Rock Sword, Rabbit Spell, ability, Li Huahua, let's just Li Huahua. I'm happy today and won't argue with you like I do. He clenched his fist and felt his strength. He felt like he could kill a cow now. Of course, this is not an illusion brought about by power enhancement. He is truly capable of killing, and digitization allows him to control his body quite perfectly without any power illusion, so now. It's time to try my skills. I hope all readers can continue reading. By the way, I would like to ask for follow-up reading, free investment, as well as monthly and recommended tickets. Thank you, gentlemen. The protagonist is a somewhat crazy and disdainful guy. This book will have a female lead, but not a stallion script. In addition, I would like to request another free investment, as well as follow-up reading, collection, recommendation tickets, and monthly tickets. Please, the child really needs it. Feel free to raise any comments, I will answer them very seriously. QQ group number 566898424, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Cremation. Mie and I. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Cremation. Mie and I walking on the streets of Manhattan. Li Ye's eyes were dazzled by the lights, wine, and greenery. Is the world abroad good? Li Yi sneered, wrong, the corners and alleys here are filled with evil, especially in this chaotic world where discrimination and crime abound. This place is much more chaotic than a flower grower. But he came out this time to see the darkness on the street. Li Yi walked faster and faster, feeling his improved physical fitness, and he felt even happier. Steve's panel gives him a physical fitness bonus, which he feels very clearly in the digitized body, a body without any fatigue, with even faster speed. After walking for a long time, he finally arrived at a secluded alley, which was the most common place for gangsters to appear. Hey, Huanpi monkey, we want to borrow some money from you. Li Yi looked ahead and saw 2 niggers appearing, blocking his way. Although Li Yi is 1.8 meters tall, he looks very thin and gives off a feeling of weakness. He used to be bullied because of this when he was in school before. Hey, yellow skin monkey, I'm talking to you. Do you have any ear problems? One of the niggers walked over directly and grabbed his shoulder. Li Ye's eyes were deep. As an office worker, he could barely understand English. He just sighed at how severe the discrimination against Huanpi in the United States was. Is it unique to Marvel? Who knows, he never went abroad in his past life. Li Yi looked at Nigel in front of him with a slightly sinister smile on his face. Hey, yellow skin monkey. What are you laughing at? Nige persisted, his fist shining in Li Ye's eyes. It was obvious that if Li Yi didn't pay, he would be beaten. You have offended the wrong person. Li Yi grabbed this nigger's neck with one hand and picked him up. He had just observed it carefully, but there was no surveillance footage around. These niggers were obviously repeat offenders and chose this path. The nigger in Li Ye's hand was choked and made a brilliant sound. Li Yi looked at this nigger and became increasingly excited. The feeling of just gaining strength made him so excited. Hey! What are you doing? The other nigger was clearly not aware of the seriousness of the problem and was still watching on the side. Click. Li Ye's hand pinched the neck of this nigger, and the crimson bone spurs with white tinges pierced the skin, bleeding out, indicating how hard Li Yi exerted. Everyone present was stunned by a moment of silence. Li Yi looked at Nigel, who had blood flowing in his hands and his head turned to one side, and surprisingly showed a faint smile. He's not a killer, this is his first time killing someone, he just feels like this is murder. Is that all? There was no hint of nausea, no waves. Perhaps it was Steve's panel that brought him a leap in life. Now, with different levels of life, there is no empathy. Perhaps he himself may be like this, but it doesn't matter anymore. No matter what, it's him now. The other Nigel was shocked and came to his senses. He turned around and ran quickly, turning into the other alley in the blink of an eye. It's obvious that he's a repeat offender, without yelling, afraid of exposing his position. Coupled with his racial talent, entering the darkness may not necessarily be visible to outsiders. Li Yi looked at the fleeing guy and once again showed a sinister smile on his face. System. Fusion Rabbit Spell. Ding, successful use, the host gains the ability to Rabbit Talisman. Li Yi suddenly felt that there was something else in his mind. As long as he wanted to, he could use the ability to become known as the Rabbit. Li Yi's eyes flickered and he instantly appeared in front of Nigel. Nigel collapsed to the ground and hurriedly pulled out a pistol, pointing it at Li Yi. Without hesitation, he fired directly at first glance. There were plenty of lives left in my hands, but the bullet hit Li Yi like it hit a wooden pier, only causing him to retreat a little bit. Monsters. Monsters. Li Yi looked at him with a slight smile, his eyes narrowed, and the corners of his mouth widened. Can I ask you to help me test something? But now, Nigel is so scared that he doesn't know how to speak. The pistol bullets have been emptied, and he only knows how to sit on the ground. Smelling this smell, he should be scared to pee. Li Yi shrugged his shoulders and said with a nonchalant expression, if you don't speak, then I'll assume you agree. No. Nigel knelt down and licked Li Yi's shoes. Let me go, but Li Yi didn't even look and said, sorry, it was too late. Screams were made one after another, but because two farming tools often hit others here, even if someone heard them, they didn't feel strange. But who could have imagined that it was these two farming tools that screamed this time? 10 minutes later, there was no Nigel left in the same spot, only some remaining limbs. Li Yi leaned against the wall on one side, looking at his masterpiece and couldn't help but smile a little more. He tested his system with this Nigel, and it was obvious that the result was not good. He constantly persecuted this guy, and finally poured him into cement as steel, only giving him a little negative emotional value. This negative emotional value is really hard to deal with. He looked at the ground with limbs and a corpse on the other side, revealing a distressed expression. Leaving these things here can be very troublesome. He drew freely in the air, and a blazing flame-shaped sword was drawn out of the void, with a length of 1.5 meters, prison rock sword. Li Yi can grip this heavy and hot sword with just one hand. With 10 points of patience, he can feel a bit hot holding the handle of the sword, and even his eyes can feel its sharpness. It's obvious that this is a peerless weapon. Let's cremate it. My nun. With a wave of the big sword, the flames rolled out and wrapped around the remaining limbs, and then nothing happened. Li Yi stopped his second-level behavior and patted his forehead. It was obvious that this sword was not used that way. Only when touched can it have a burning effect, so he had to run up and use his big sword to cremate each of them one by one. When cremating the body, he even carved a smiling face on Nanny's face to commemorate his first black sweep. I hope that when you reincarnate as a farming tool, you will also wear this smile and be able to keep smiling. Without surveillance and pedestrians around, the disappearance of these two niggers is destined to become a mystery. The traces of the two niggers dissipated with the wind, and the scene that had been cleared without any trace was destined not to attract the attention of the Snake Shield Bureau. Returning to the rental house, Li Yi examined himself. Just now, Nigel also let him know that the damage caused by the pistol bullet at close range was half a heart, but the digitized body showed no external manifestation. This also means that he is not immune to modern technology. As for the rabbit charm, he just found a place where no one was around to test it. His current strength is about 3 or 4 tons, which is a bit far from Spider-Man, let alone Steve, who can hold 64 neutrinos and singularities with one hand. His current maximum speed is 3 times the speed of sound, which is 3 Mach. If he goes any faster, he will lose blood, but his physical fitness is not enough. However, this also reaches the initial velocity of a typical sniper rifle bullet. But Li Yi found that his rabbit talisman had a sonic boom, and as long as it exceeded 1 Mach, it would produce a sound barrier, showing great respect for physics. But in the original work, Xiaoyu's speed has crossed time and there hasn't been any sound boom. Is the version different? And most importantly, he expended his brain when using this spell. When using it, it consumes mental energy, and excessive use can cause headaches. making it impossible to use it for a long time, and he also found that the rabbit's talisman ability can only accelerate its own body and is not very useful for objects, and he is not sure if it is not possible in itself or if the level of development is not enough. This strength is relatively good compared to Iron Man's side, but the subsequent plot of Iron Man is about the Hulk and Hammer God. Oh no, Thunder God, this strength cannot be persecuted as you please. He took out a notebook and slowly recorded the methods that could help him quickly gain strength on it. For example, what went to Kamataki, but now that Koichi is not dead, who knows what Koichi thinks of him. What if he were to be treated as garbage, for example, going to the chivalrous and righteous places every night, helping nearby construction sites build more humanoid steel bars, and earning some negative emotions, but the steel bars are only given a few points on average. If he wants to draw a prize, he will have to carry out a massacre, and this is too easy to be discovered by the Snake Shield Bureau. Although his strength is not bad now and he is enough to compete with the current Divine Shield Bureau, he is not long lasting after all. It is too early to persecute them now. There are also options on paper such as desperate viruses and steel armor. As he wrote, his gaze froze in one place. Dragon Clan World, it's almost time until the plot of Iron Man 1, and Tony is still lying at home playing with his weekly girl, not going to Afghanistan. He doesn't intend to get involved in the plot of Iron Man 1 Afghanistan, mainly because he is still a gangster and it's really difficult for him to go to Afghanistan. He can't rely on the rabbit spell to run there, right? He plans to intervene in the second half of Iron Man 1, the part where Iron Overlord takes power, which has greater maneuverability, and there is still a long gap between them, and he doesn't intend to waste this time, so it's up to you. Let's cross over. Dragon Clan World. Ding, the host Li Huahua travels through the world of the dragon race, Zhua. Shut up. I'll say it again. My name is Li Yi. I hope all readers can continue reading. By the way, I would like to ask for follow-up reading, free investment, as well as monthly and recommended tickets. Thank you. Grandpa. The protagonist is a somewhat crazy and disdainful guy. This book will have a female lead, but not a stallion script. In addition, I would like to request a free investment again, as well as follow-up reading, collection, recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, and a free investment please. The child really needs it. Feel free to raise any comments, I will answer them very seriously. Group ID 5668988424, end of this chapter. Chapter 3. The World of Little Dragon People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The World of Little Dragon People. Li Yi walked on the street, surrounded by some not very high buildings, with few pedestrians, and the street lights flickering on and off. All the differences are telling him that he has traveled again. Is Japan in 2008. It happens to be the beginning of the plot. Li Yi looked at his own hands, still wearing. Everything on my body is still there. He carried a lot of things in his backpack this time. 64 bags of rice, 60.4 not short pieces of wood, 3 fruit knives, 60.4 rolls of toilet paper, 60.4 lighters, a Colt that Nico insisted on entrusting to him before his death, with more than 10 bullets, a few $100, and the most important prison rock sword, enough for him to survive on any field. Li Yi recalled what the main storyline of the Dragon Clan was like in this world. There are creatures like dragons that ruled over humans in ancient times. The most cunning one is called the Black King. The Black King created 4 children and a woman named the White King, who was appointed as the high priest by him. The 4 children are called the 4 great dragon kings, namely the King of Bronze and Fire, the King of Earth and Mountain, the King of Ocean and Water, and the King of Sky and Wind. And then the Black King was overturned by these kids' cars. Then humans gave birth to offspring with the dragon race, giving rise to mixed-race individuals who possess a special ability called Speaking Spirit. And then humans overturned these kings as well, but the death of the dragon race is not clean. The 4 great kings can make a bone graft bottle, which will be reborn in the bottle after death. A considerable number of roles in human history have been played by these dragon races during their rebirth. The place where the story begins is this city. The protagonist of the story is not a guy who easily admires others, but a frail person with low appearance, emotional intelligence, and intelligence. This frail person then embarks on the path of dragon slaying under the interference of a group of old bullies. The plot begins in 2008, when Lu Mingfei, who graduated from his third year of high school, was lured into a university specializing in dragon slaughter. Castle College Li Yi continued to reminisce about the original work. Since he acquired the Steve panel, his memory seems to have improved significantly, and his recollection of the plot has become much clearer. Ding, World Mission Release. Kill the 4 Dragon Kings, Black Kings, and White Kings. Task Rewards. For Dragon Kings. Each 10,000 gold coins will be drawn in a lottery once White King's corpse. 10,000 gold coins lottery 3 times Black King. 100000 draw once. Li Yi was momentarily stunned. World Mission. And this thing? You didn't even give it to the previous world. Li Ye's answer did not receive an answer, isn't it? The intelligence is too poor, is this system. Just as I finished speaking, the sound of the system rang out again. Ding, answer the host. Li Huahua, world missions will be randomly distributed. Li Ye's face turned black. Good guy, your delay was quite high, and why did you have to repeat Li's cremation again? Are you doing it intentionally? It's clearly not necessary. Just thinking about it, Li Yi felt like the surroundings had become quiet. When did it start? It seems like half an hour ago. There were fewer and fewer people. There seemed to be something brewing in the shadows around him, and only then did he realize that there was no one around him. He heard some faint gasps, deep and deep, like a wild beast. Is it so low? I just came across all these messy things when I first arrived. Li Yi turned around and saw a monster standing 2 meters tall emerge from the shadows. It was covered in some scales and had quite large muscles. Its golden eyes were full of violence. Make Li Yi feel like a cool chrysanthemum at first glance. Is it a ghost? Li Yi squinted his eyes. In the world of the Dragon Clan, there are quite a few high-risk mixed-race species with unstable bloodline, which can easily go crazy and become monsters. They call these guys ghosts. Some people have inherited the lineage of the White King, and they refer to the most direct lineage as the imperial blood, which is more powerful than the average mixed race. When the dragon blood ratio exceeds 50%, typical mixed-race species will turn into something called death attendant, lose their will, and become bloodthirsty monsters, and the proportion of imperial blood has a higher tolerance, which can increase the dragon blood content to 70% or even higher, and the existing several imperial blood have awakened those disgusting words of the White King series. There are so many ghosts in the day that it's really scary. I just gave him a little surprise when I first arrived. Li Yi silently sighed. I touched inside my clothes and found a handful of colt. Okay, this is actually taken out of his backpack, but he can't expose his ability to empty out things. There isn't much spatial ability here, so it's hard to explain. If a ghost appears, there must be law enforcement officers around. He doesn't believe that Japan's execution is so poor. The best proof is that there is no one around anymore. As for why this death attendant appeared in front of him without the law enforcement officer, was it a probe? Li Yi pulled out his gun and fired wildly at the dead attendant in front of him. Bullets hitting this death attendant are of no use, as one shot at a time is directly thrown away. Is Colt's caliber still too small? The bullet seems to have angered this death attendant. Roaring towards Li Yi, he no longer concealed himself. Then came a strange sound. The surrounding light seems to be distorted. Li Ye's eyes narrowed. In his eyes, the figure of the ghost gradually weakened, and under the influence of the night, it became even more difficult to see clearly. Is this ghost releasing the spirit of speech? Yanling Mingzhao. A kind of speech that hides one's own body shape. No, it should be a subordinate's eloquence. The concealment is not that good. In the original work, the portrayal of the light of the underworld was quite a headache for the big brother Caesar in the protagonist group. Caesar is a spiritual weasel with a detection system, and it's really amazing that he can give him a headache in terms of concealment. Now this death attendant has only slightly hidden its body shape, and with the help of the night, it is designated not as the dark light, and those people on the day won't let a high-risk mixed-race species with advanced language and spirit like Mingzhao run around, and if they accidentally do, it will be a massacre. Li Yi is not at all panicked. This death attendant is very fast, and the distance between them is about 100 meters. This guy should run for 3 or 4 seconds. There are many things that can be done in 3 or 4 seconds. Li Ye's figure swayed and he used the ability of the rabbit talisman. He controlled the speed quite perfectly. Perhaps it was because of Steve's template that he controlled it so perfectly, accurately locking the speed within the sound speed without producing any sound barriers. He calculated very clearly. And in just this little time, he had already figured out how to wander around this world. He plans to face this world as a mixed-race identity. This is how we can better utilize the plot. Now is a great opportunity in the mixed race. There are 2 rapid-speaking spirits, Time Zero, and Moment. The ability of Time Zero is the ability to create a domain, slow down the speed within the domain, and make oneself faster, more like the ability of Fast Silver, a top old lunatic in this world. The Dean of Dragon Slaying Academy can slow down the flow of time by up to 50 times, and in an instant, I increased my speed exponentially by 2 times, up to a power of 9, which is 512 times, but there was no improvement in my thinking, so I could only use preset behaviors to move. His rabbit talisman tends to be somewhere between the two, improving both his thinking speed and his own speed, but he cannot ignore the influence of the surrounding environment, which still produces sonic booms and the like. But he felt that he just didn't know how to use it. After all, the original Xiaoyu had already traveled through time and there was no sound boom. Don't tell me that the speed used to travel through time is less than Mach 1 Newton. Who opened my coffin board? Li Yi actually didn't understand that speed is actually related to time. According to relativity, the faster the speed, the slower the flow rate of time. When the speed reaches the speed of light, time will come to a standstill, so since the speed is fast, won't the thinking become faster? Although the speed of thinking may not be as outrageous as the original work, it is not as sudden as the original work. We can only follow the preset, at least take a turn. What is the principle of this moment? Well, the Dragon Clan is already outrageous enough. Let these guys hold down Einstein's coffin board. Li Yi shook his head, cleared his thoughts, and then looked at the big guy running towards him. Yes, he was distracted in front of this big guy. The thinking speed of the rabbit talisman is synchronized with his body, and his thinking speed is now not lower than 1 Mach. 1 Mach is equal to twice the speed of sound, so now, it's time to showcase our strength. Group ID 5668988424. Could you please ask for the recommended ticket again? Thank you, everyone. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. That's right, this is Time Zero. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error. Please try another translator. Chapter 5. I just want to watch a comic exhibition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. I just want to watch a comic exhibition. Li Yi is sitting in the tea room quietly waiting for the passage of time. Beside him were various Japanese beauties serving him tea and water, and he believed that with just one word from him, these women could perform some special actions with him. Well, on the spot, a Hollywood action blockbuster about love is being staged. Li Ye's recent behavior was actually not rigorous. Why did he expose the secret behind the crazy criticism of the principal, and why did he tell Yuan Jisheng about the search for the movie queen? These actually need to be scrutinized. Proactively exposing it may be a crazy criticism that Principal Henri is showing his muscles to the secret party. After all, these two aspects have always been difficult to deal with. To Yuan Jisheng, perhaps it is just to get news. After all, in Japan, no one is more developed in terms of information than the 8 houses of Snake, and the minister of the executive department and the next leader will definitely know more about it. Moreover, the fact that the movie Emperor is still in Japan is too big, which is like a minister intervening in the court and becoming the new emperor while the emperor is on a trip. Unexpectedly, this old emperor is right under his nose nowadays. The authentic person who grows oranges is not a serious person. Although he doesn't care about the position that everyone grows, he has reasons not to abdicate. The only question is whether they can reach anger, how long it will take to reach her, and what would anger think when she hears another person with 0 time appear. Li Yi doesn't care about this. He only needs a few days. The head of the Inuyama family of the Snake Chi 8 families is the disciple of the crazy criticism Principal Henri. There must be a way to contact Henri. Even if he doesn't have a way, the current head of the Snake Chi 8 families, Orange Xingzong, will still find a way to contact Henri, but this has to mention Li Ye's identity. Now his identity is Henri's hidden son, and they are not sure how many people know about this hidden son. Although Li Yi is considered to have voluntarily exposed it, they will not try to figure out Henri's intentions, at least not yet. It's definitely not possible to ask openly, but rather to specifically seek out anger. They still have things to do according to the attached Castle Academy, and it's not easy for Henri, this old man, to find him. It'll take a few days to get in touch no matter what, and it is precisely this time gap that Li Yi wants to make use of. As long as he can squeeze out 1 or 2 days, it will be enough for him to complete what he wants to do. Of course, the more time, the better. In fact, the Hajimasaki clan doesn't really care about Castle Dragon Slayer Academy, but they still dare not rebel and will have to wait until the original work to reveal their fangs. Li Yi seized this point and utilized his time and identity. He wants to bring a little shock to the little days of this world, the shock from the fourth natural disaster. Li Yi lowered his eyes and looked around the room. The room arranged for him by the Hajimasaki family is very nice. This house belongs to a 50-story tall building, located on the upper level of the building, with a 40.1 or 12-story appearance. The furniture is the best of the best. It seems that Anger likes it. Besides, there are lots of anime items beside it, causing him a bit speechless. He recalled that he used to often watch anime, but most of it was for the girls in his class or to be able to chat with the people in his class at that time. He always did things he disliked specifically for the sake of others. Later on, Li Yi realized that it was a fear of loneliness. He was like a clown catering to others. Slowly, he became an egoist, pretending to be himself and facing the world. Back to now, the Snake Chi 8 families have not placed Li Yi under house arrest, but he believes that as long as he goes out, he will be monitored. Li Yi casually fiddled with the figurine twice before walking to the balcony, gazing at the city of life and the countless lights, unable to help but sigh towards the sky. It's really a bit cold, isn't it? Ding, Sakura Night Rain negative emotion +1, ding, Mari Xiaoxinyang's negative emotions +1, what kind of weird name is this, Mari Xiaoxinyang? Are you sure you didn't go to the wrong set? And this one sentence is equivalent to 4 steel bars. Are you polite to steel bars? Li Yi was a bit speechless. One night passed, and Li Yi behaved quite normally until the next day. As soon as he woke up, Li Yi shouted in the room, "Prepare the car, I'll go out for a trip." Anyway, they all have to be monitored, why not take advantage of it? On the other side in a hall, Yuan Jisheng stands in front of Orange Orthodox. Dad, is his identity as an agent real? The authentic Orange pondered for a moment and said, Hui Ji's information in Castle cannot be found, or it may be hidden by Anger. Yuan Jisheng's face showed a hint of nostalgia, principal Anger. Henri is an old lunatic, but after all, he is old and it is possible to leave behind a descendant of the Dragon Slayer. It is also possible to hide in front of him to protect him, but now this person has suddenly been exposed, and it is in Tokyo. The voice of the authentic Orange gradually lowered. Yuan Jisheng respectfully awaits his next message. After a while, Orange Authentic continued to speak. Let's wait for the delicious food and drink, continue to monitor, the world won't have an S-level bloodline out of thin air. If it's really the case, that old lunatic Anger will definitely have a future. Do you really believe in that person's identity? Zhu Jingzong smiled and said, no, but the current Snake Chi 8 families are not the same as before. A Time Zero owner cannot afford to spend too much money. We have the strength to face all of this. We have you, the future of the Snake Chi 8 families. As the next leader, you need to have courage. Yuan Jisheng bowed and said, I understand, Dad. Where has that man gone now? He went to Akihabara. Yuan Jisheng still doesn't know that his father has another identity. He is a German Dr. Herzog, a dragon blood researcher, and one of his most disliked people. The leader of the evil spirits, Wang Jiang. Returning to the protagonist's side, he arrived at Akihabara in a car. Well, it's the place called Jerusalem in the anime exhibition, not Jerusalem in the 3D area. Don't get it wrong, it is also the place where the protagonist of the original work met the little monster Yasuji Yoshiyuki. Li Yi felt that the little monster's death was both pitiful and lamentable, but he wouldn't want to change his plan for the sake of a plot character. People will eventually die. In the case of the little monster painted pear clothes, it's very easy to prevent her from dying in Herzog's hands, but it's much harder to make her live longer. Eri is the head of the Yasuji family in the Hakazaki family, possessing extremely exaggerated spiritual judgments according to his brother Yuan Jisheng's description. She was able to demolish the entire Tokyo in one day. The absurdity in absurdity. If Li Yi has this ability, why are you still planning something here? In his purpose of coming to Akihabara was not simply to stroll here, but to lay the groundwork for the future. He felt that there were many hidden gazes around him, but he didn't care at all if the Hakazaki family didn't look at him. He would think there was a problem then. He participated in a comic exhibition. Yes, he participated in a comic exhibition. This also happened to happen. He didn't have a cosplay, but just walked into the venue wearing a mask and disappeared into the eyes of these individuals. Almost as soon as he disappeared, a dozen or so people walked out and stopped the comic exhibition. The leader is also a young man with black hair, wearing glasses and looking somewhat polite as he walked. He said to his earphone, "I knew that the owner of Time Zero couldn't even keep an eye on it." Ding, Crow's negative emotion value plus 10, ding, Crow's negative emotion value plus 10, ding, Crow's negative emotion value plus 10. On the other hand, what did Li Yi do after quickly running out of the venue? He didn't do anything. To be precise, he hid in a shop eating roasted birds, which was thousands of meters away from the venue, but for him, this distance was not enough to see and then quietly wait for the loss of time. Crow, do you really look up to me? Li Yi remembers that this is a character that appeared in the original book. Its name is Zhuobuolongji or something. But the bird food is important. It is a modest supporting role as for the purpose of Li Yi sneaking out. Is it meaningless to run out and do nothing? No, Li Yi has his own plans. He smiled slightly, somewhat cunning, and the gentle breeze blew over, lifting the girl's skirt on one side. Li Yi's eyes immediately fixed on it. Ah. Damn winter, now is not the time to start yet. He opened his phone and translated, typed a paragraph and handed it to the boss. Boss, give me 10 more strings of this style of string. Mother, not knowing a foreign language is really difficult. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Brings extreme shock to the 8 families of Snake Chi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 brings extreme shock to the 8 families of Snake Chi. That roasted bird restaurant is really good. Li Yi said on the way back in the car. The crow was driving ahead, but they eventually found him. After listening to his words, the crow appeared very speechless. When they found this guy, he even warmly invited them to eat roasted birds together without hiding his intentions, just like inviting his old friend. But their surveillance is also a tacit agreement between the two sides, and they cannot speak up on the table, so they can only suffer a mute defeat. But Li Yi is really happy, which adds a lot of negative emotional value to him. Mr. Li, if you want to eat, we can hire a chef here to cook for you every day. Li Yi smiled lightly and his expression gradually became less picky than before. Novelty that I have never tried before is interesting. If I eat it every day, it won't be much fun. It hasn't made me have the ability to enjoy it every day. The crow nodded and said, I have been taught. But he squinted his eyes secretly. The current strength and dominance, and the passion just now, frivolous. What kind of guy is this man inside? Is this guy schizophrenic? Ding, Crow's negative emotions plus 10, Li Yi didn't hear what he was thinking. If he did, he would probably burst into laughter. Soon, you will know what kind of person he is. In the remaining few days, Li Yi used the name of the Snake Chi 8 families to challenge the masters who opened martial arts schools everywhere in the morning. Without exception, they were all covered in thin gauze. After all, he had never learned anything, and during the fights, he also controlled his own strength. Those swordsmanship masters who don't know anything at all, Li Yi really doesn't want to fight him. It's like asking someone who plays LPL to go to Bronze Dish. See if he goes or not. But at the request of the Hakazaki family, they had to fight him again. Negative emotions ++ Li Ye's happiness ++ That's not all for now. Li Ye requests to go to the beach every afternoon to practice swordsmanship, which is called feeling the waves, and his swordsmanship will be more exquisite. This is really tough for these members of the snake sakurai family. Not to mention the distance issue, just clearing a beach is a troublesome matter. When Li Ye practiced swordsmanship, he had real strength, and if he couldn't guarantee it, he even used some rapid techniques. Those ordinary people couldn't see someone waving their swords at a speed that exceeded the visual frame rate of the human eye. Right, Li Ye must have come to this beach not just for the sea, but for the sand. What can sand do? There are many things that Sha can do, including but not limited to building sand castles, digging sand pits, and destroying the 8 families of snake chi. So a group of big men secretly observed a young man in his 20s practicing swordsmanship and digging sand. Li Ye's negative emotional value is just a superficial increase with Li Ye's behavior. More and more suspicions have also come to him. Anger's dark son doesn't know how to use a sword. Anger is a guy with the ability to avoid being rumored. As his subordinates, he doesn't know anything about it. That's really a big deal, isn't it? Until the arrival of the 7th day. Li Ye's behavior was abnormal. Early that morning, he understood that the time had come, and he didn't know why Henri hadn't appeared. He thought that in 3 or 4 days, the snake Mie Ba family would take the initiative to attack him, causing him to eat poorly these days. But it's been 7 days now. Anger. Where did you end up missing out on prostitution? It's too late without any action. It's time to start planning. In fact, Li Ye is well aware that even the execution of the 8 families of Snake Zaki is not as poor as 7 days without contacting Anger. Although Henri may not necessarily tell these members of the Snake Zaki family that his true identity is not his disciple, if Henri knew, there would be many variables. He's just an old lunatic who can do anything to slay dragons. Who knows what he'll do? This kind of crazy logic is the most difficult to guess, afraid of change. Let's start now. Li Ye is checking his supplies inside the room. The loaded pistol had only a few bullets left. It was a knife that he had stolen from the hands of the 8 families of Snake Zaki. Although it was not an alchemy knife, he did not intend to use it. This knife was exposed to others and pretended to be used in these 7 days. His swordsmanship has also improved rapidly. It could be his original talent, or it could be the power brought by Steve's panel. Li Ye's learning ability is not very poor either. Now his swordsmanship can only be described in 4 words, with great strength turning to flying. Okay, at least it wasn't Xia Heba who cut it. She's making great progress. In addition, there is a bundle of cash, a backpack, a camera, a few chocolates and chewing gum, and even a telescope. As soon as he took out these things, the door opened and a Maori little girl burst in. He smiled slightly and said, "The way you treat guests at the Hakazaki family is too bad. I have to leave now." Ba ga. While she was speaking, Li Ye had already packed up his things. Then she instantly moved behind Xiao Xinyang. "Also tell Yuan Jisheng that Anger has nothing to do with me, I just want to tease him." After speaking, with one hand cutting, this person who looked and named like a sleeping detective really fell asleep. There must be more than one person monitoring around. Li Ye picked up his samurai sword. So, it's time to test one's own achievements. He kicked open the door with one foot, and there were already many people waiting for him outside. As soon as he came out, he immediately raised a pistol at him. Li Ye squinted his eyes and pulled out the knife. The plan is starting. Bang! One person fired the gun first, and then everyone followed suit to shoot 7 or 8 handguns together. But in Li Ye's eyes, these bullets were all too slow. With an initial speed of 300.500 meters per second, they couldn't keep up with his speed, let alone hit him. So the knife light flashed continuously. 7 or 8 people collapsed together. Ding. Negative emotions from Satsukido +5. Ding. Negative emotions from Ancestor Yamamoto +5. Ding. From Li Ye smiled slightly. No one should not hate the person who killed him. Right at the moment of killing someone, their negative emotions are the most intense, aren't they? Li Ye didn't use the rabbit spell, he just moved at his highest speed, but this speed was also quite exaggerated, even faster than the death attendant that day. Bolt probably said on the spot that this person had cheated. His physical strength is infinite, but the spiritual energy consumed by the rabbit charm is not. We need to use it sparingly. Not long after, Li Yi arrived at the staircase. The people below had already rushed up one after another. Li Yi smiled slightly and ran up. There were very few people coming down from above, only 7 or 8, and Li Yi couldn't bear it either. The blade flickered, directly putting an end to the lives of a few people. It's blocking your way, won't you cut it down and keep the fire? He's not even a Virgin Mary at all. He should be killed, and if he does, he can still earn negative emotional points. The blade swings extremely fast, and even without the use of rabbit talismans, its speed is exaggerated. He rushed straight into the rooftop. There were more and more pursuers behind him, and Li Yi looked at these individuals and jumped down from the rooftop. He can't just kill these people, but his current combat skills are still not enough. Killing all these people is very irrational. Just when I was charging, I was hit by a stray bullet and got a shot of blood. Their pistols are definitely not ordinary guys. His rabbit charm cannot be kept on. There are still many places to use tonight. There is no need to entangle with them in mid-air. Li Yi directly opened his backpack and took out a huge sheet, which was a large piece of 4 sheets he had stolen and pieced together here, carrying more than a Li Yi stamp. When he stole it, he used a rabbit charm that nobody noticed. After stealing it, he put it directly in his backpack, and no one noticed it. He looked down and saw many people holding guns waiting for him to land. Li Yi didn't care at all. He continued to drift down, but when it drifted halfway to the building, he threw himself forcefully to the side. Abandoned this parachute. Then he activated the rabbit spell and started running diagonally downwards on the side of the building. Newton. Where is my coffin board? The building is not a straight face, but rather has windows and other things. Li Yi stepped on the extension of the window, so he didn't fall down. This is the combination of speed, dynamic vision, and thinking. When I go back, I'll find a fighting teacher to teach me how to fight. The people below have already started shooting, and Li Yi keeps walking through the barrage of bullets. When there are still more than 10 meters from the bottom of the building, he forcefully pushes against the wall, throwing out another large sheet, covering his figure in less than 5 seconds. The sheets were riddled with wounds and holes, while Li Yi was nowhere to be found. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Witches in Genji Heavy Industries. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Witches in Genji Heavy Industries. In a hall full of the atmosphere of the Warring States period, Yuan Jisheng looks at Orange Shengzong. Dad, there is indeed a problem with his identity, but why does Principal Anger say? Orange Authentic shakes its head. Anger, that old lunatic is acting strangely. There must be a secret in this person, so he shouldn't be from Anger's side. What should we do now? Zhu Jingxing said to him earnestly. Jisheng, one day you will have to make your own choice. At that time, you only need to understand one thing. The current Snake Chi 8 families will no longer be easily bullied. Yuan Jisheng bowed and replied, yes, I understand, Dad. Returning to Li Ye's side, he used the rabbit charm to escape from there. He still got a lot of bullets on his body. After all, he's not the one in the Matrix, but it didn't mean much to him. He took a few chocolates from his backpack and started smashing them. Not long after, the health was fully restored. There is no residue. If we have to talk about the negative impact of bullets on him, it probably hurts a bit. Is it really painful? He almost let go of that steel bar in pain, but it's like walking. More roads makes them more spacious. Getting used to getting shot more often in Steve's panel will also alleviate some of his pain. He grinned grimly twice. Next stop, Genji Heavy Industry. He found out the location of Genji Heavy Industries on the 5th day of his stay at the Hakioji family in Shizaki. After all, this is not a secret. Li Yi took out a corpse from his backpack. This is what he just took advantage of the chaos and put in his backpack. Then he took off the person's clothes and stored them inside the backpack. Konan Kudo, he pronounced the name on his ID card. Good name. It's a pity if I die. If I keep this name, I won't be able to survive for a few days. Li Yi checked his things and found them very complete. This kind of thing should give them a little shock, right? Now the underground forces in Tokyo are boiling up. All 8 members of the Snake Zaki family belonging to the underworld have mobilized just to find Li Yi. Li Ye's face was a bit dark. As for what, just thinking about it, he came to your house and lied to you that he was his former boss's friend. He tricked you into eating and drinking, and then told you that he was fake and stabbed you. You don't have to worry. How can you still mess around in the circle when you talk about it? Most of the underworld now gathers in the Akihabara and beach areas. Akihabara was because Li Yi disappeared there once. Although I communicated with the boss that Li Yi disappeared and went to the store shortly after, this time is enough for people with zero time to do many things. There are fewer people on the beach compared to Akihabara, but there are still many this wave. Both the current charging and otaku are feeling uncomfortable, but Li Yi became happy you all left. Does that mean the old nest is empty? On the third night before he left the Hakozaki family, Li Yi has finally made all the preparations. Before this, he had been hiding above the original building. Around the 10th floor no one noticed him. He put on the clothes of Konan Kudo and quietly walked towards his destination, Genji Heavy Industries. He didn't take the main road, nor did he take the sewer that the main characters in the original work did. Instead, he entered from above, yes, above, upstairs of Genji Heavy Industries. Although there are surveillance cameras everywhere in this place, Li Yi is not sure about the structure inside, but Li Yi just needs to go in. You don't need to stay inside for too long. It is obvious that this is not a big problem for Li Yi, who possesses the rabbit charm. Li Yi easily entered from above. Li Yi knows that this is divided into two parts. One is Genji Heavy Industries Company, Limited, which is the ancestral home of the Hakozaki family. Another place is the Rock Flow Research Institute, which is under the control of Herzog's disguised Orange Orthodox, a place for studying dragon blood. Inside are all death attendants. What Li Yi needs to do is very simple. Say hello to them once. Berry Fruit sent two characters with the code names Little Boy and Big Fatty to greet Japan, and Li Yi also had his own way of greeting. Li Yi walked around freely in the building, and there were not many people in the building. Li Yi was wearing a mask, and no one talked to him. There are already quite a few people wearing masks here. After all, this is a research institute. Li Yi was walking down inside the building, knowing that there were good things underneath. The surveillance system here was really tight. At least the elevator needed to swipe a card to get down. Li Yi had a card in his hand. Well, the card from Konan Kudo was the cannon fodder he brought back with him. The card swiped open the elevator door, and it was obvious that the cannon fodder here still has human rights, but his card was definitely unable to open the doors of some important places. So there was an unlucky guy wearing a white coat in Genji Heavy Industry who had his head chopped off and thrown into Li Yi's backpack anyway. This backpack is a rule series, not a space series, so it doesn't feel dirty no matter how you put it. And wearing a white coat, I can't lower my level no matter what. This elevator can only reach the first floor, and there must be more than just one elevator in this place. He slowly found a staircase, which also requires swiping his card to continue down. Thanks to the fact that this place still has an emergency escape route written on it, it's not convenient at all. If an emergency occurs, I don't know how many people would be killed by the explosion. Li Yi used this card to slowly walk towards the ground. While walking, I put down some things wrapped in paper shells, which looked very heavy, each measuring 1 meter square. Li Yi has been mainly focused on these things for the past 3 days. Wrapping paper shells around these little treasures is not an easy task, mainly because paper shells are difficult to find, and it took 3 days to steal so many. But if it's not wrapped in a paper shell, these little treasures are too obvious. As he walked, he observed the situation around him. The scene around him was clearly different from the one above, becoming increasingly dark, mainly because the people below didn't know how to turn on the lights, making it pitch black and invisible. He can see less and less. At first, he had to carry someone else to put the box, but now he can put the box casually. Li Yi continued to walk forward, not knowing how long he had been walking, when he saw a huge vault made of steel casting. Hey, this is discovering the big treasure. Li Yi walked forward. The many insurance measures above the iron shell gate are terrifying. There must be something good inside, probably not an alchemy weapon library or a dragon blood potion library. Li Yi is certain that this place already belongs to a considerable part of Genji Heavy Industries, and the things inside are definitely not simple as for how to open the door. Li Yi has his own clever moves. Bang! The high heat and ultra-sharp prison rock sword with double the speed of sound. Impact, speed, quality, strength, none lacking, helping you solve all difficulties. Which one is the best weapon? Use the Jailrock brand sword. Jailrock sword, Li's choice. But as soon as the door opened, Li Yi was stunned. Good guy, alchemy weapons, dragon blood potions, nothing inside sat a girl in a witch costume. She was holding a game console in her hand and watching the person who suddenly broke in. Li Yi was stunned, not only because of this girl's stunning appearance, but also because of her identity, Yusuji painted pear clothes. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. TNT. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 TNT. Yusuji Yoshiyuki, the head of the Yusuji family and the younger sister of Yuan Jisheng, although she does not have real power, has strength. How to put it, she can hang and fight all the remaining members of the Snake Zaki 8 families alone. Maybe she hasn't had any wounds after the fight. Let me put it this way, this is a high-risk mixed race, with a very dangerous bloodline. I get serum every day, and if I don't get serum, I can become a lifeguard. Even if I don't get serum, I'll always have a hiccup. Li Yi doesn't care about his combat prowess or anything. What he thinks is that this little girl hasn't had much exposure to the world since birth, and belongs to the white paper of white paper. She really doesn't understand anything about that. Just this kind of girl, isn't that just a scam? Li Yi watched as the girl in front of him gradually formed a brand new plan patch in his mind. An evil smile gradually climbed onto his face. He quickly rubbed his face and spoke to her with a gentle smile. Yusuji Eri, I am your brother's friend. Your brother has made me very angry because of some things, and now I want to make him angry too. After thinking about it, the most frustrating thing for him is probably that you ran away from home. Now, I want to take you away. Let your brother be angry. Upon hearing his words, Hua Li was noticeably taken aback and her head tilted slightly to the side, looking quite silly and cute. Li Yi just remembered that this woman doesn't know Chinese, so he took out his phone, translated the words he had just written using translation software, and handed them to her. After she finished reading, she also took out a piece of paper and wrote it down on it. Don't make your brother angry. Due to her high-risk bloodline and eloquence, she cannot speak and can only write. Of course, Li Yi also cannot understand Japanese, and he also takes photos and translates. The characters written by Hua Li are still very neat, and translation software can easily translate them. Unlike the words he wrote, he couldn't understand them himself, let alone translation software. Li Yi continues typing, but I'm taking you out. You must really want to go out, right? After seeing it, it was obvious that Hua Li's face was struggling. Li Yi continues to speak up, don't worry, I'm just getting a little revenge on your brother. We'll go out a few days and I'll give you back to him. Hua Li's complexion became even more struggling. Li Yi extended a hand in front of her and raised his little thumb, don't worry, I will definitely tell your brother. Hua Li is struggling even more. If you don't believe it, let's hook up. Hua Li looked at Li Ye's hand in his somewhat cunning smile, and also extended his own hand, hook. After pulling the hook, the agreement won't be violated. So, one big hand hooked up with another small hand, appearing so harmoniously. Yi just kidnapped a little girl and started on the road. What? Tell her brother. Let's talk about it later. Let's turn and run first. How can we handle so much? Li Ye's movements were very fast. He didn't believe that he had just broken through the iron gate with such a big commotion that no one noticed. Although there was no one around, there were surveillance cameras in front of the door of Hua Li. He was running at Genji Heavy Industry with his painted pear robe, but he came to a stop and squatted on the ground, quickly setting up a small device on the ground. This device was learned by him from a person named Detective Conan. It's not this Conan Kudo, it's Conan Idagawa. Maybe he will still encounter it in the future. A candle, lit, placed horizontally on top of an ice cube, with gunpowder underneath and a red square without a paper shell underneath. There are 3 large foreign characters written on the square: TNT. Melting ice cubes, candles descending to ignite gunpowder, a simple timed explosive device, and a large bondi specially placed under the ice cubes to absorb strong water. Li Yi set up the device, then picked up the painted pear clothes and ran away. He didn't think about the way he walked when he was just strolling around. He found the sewer that the protagonist group walked through when they entered here. It's difficult to walk this thing from outside to inside, but it's much simpler to walk from inside to outside. Many mazes are like this. Li Yi ran like this with his painted pear robe, almost using a rabbit charm. Finally, he felt like he was running around and found a well cover before lying down. Hua Liyi also followed up. Liyi sat directly on the ground. This time, he invaded the Snake Chi 8 family and even abducted a woman back, which was really not easy. It's really exciting. He has never done such a thing before, which reminds him of when he was a child. He used to pull monkey bands and play slingshots. The surroundings happened to be a quiet street, with dim lights scattered on the ground, attempting to compare with the bright moonlight, and the moonlight was even more beyond measure, sprinkling on the face of Hua Liyi. Hua Li's face was a bit disheveled, but that kind of beauty was like a rule, without any reason. Liyi looked at her face and sighed. The protagonist in the original work, that weak guy, doesn't deserve this beautiful woman. At this moment, the earth trembled for a moment, followed by a series of earth-shattering explosions, causing the earth to tremble uncontrollably. Giant sparks illuminate the earth, bringing perfect fireworks to the residents of Tokyo. Liyi couldn't help but sigh. It's still this thing that looks good. The things he put into the Snake Chi Ba family were TNTs, which he synthesized himself. Liyi also realized when he first arrived in this world that Steve's panel was not only Steve's data-driven body, but also the ability to synthesize objects through this panel, and the synthesis table is directly 3x3, which is much better than Steve's 2x2, and this thing is very mystical, quite mystical. To what extent is it mystical? Liyi dismantled 5 bullets, poured out gunpowder, and mixed it with 0.4 cubic meters of sand to create a 1 cubic meter TNT, and this TNT is a real 1 cubic meter TNT, a 1.654 ton TNT. Is this thing exaggerated enough to explode? Directly denying the law of conservation of energy, Newton is climbing out again. He also tried other synthetic tables, such as a draft axe and a hoe, but it's all very normal. It's just a real manuscript axe and hoe. Apart from consuming less materials, there aren't any major advantages. As for any other props, Liyi hasn't synthesized them, and they're mainly useless. The explosion lasted for half a minute. The entire Genji heavy industry has directly turned into ruins. Countless deaths and injuries. However, the ruins blocked the bottom part and did not cause significant damage to the Rock Flow Research Institute. It must be said that this place is indeed hard. After the explosion, the entire Snake Zaki family was like pufferfish on a hot pot, so anxious that they burst into bubbles. In the hall of the Hakioji family, Orange Shenzong stands at the front. Below are Yuan Jisheng, Inuyama, Sakurai, Fengma, Ryoma, and Miyamoto in order. None of the people looked very relaxed. Among them Longma Xianichiro, the head of the Longma family, lowered his head and said in a dull voice, Genji heavy industry has been basically destroyed, and even the underground grassroots has been blasted. Miyamoto's head was slightly raised by the head of the Miyamoto family, and he said, according to Himeji's records, it was the person who claimed to be the commissioner of Castle Academy that day, Li Huohua. The head of the Wind Demon family, Wind Demon Little Taro, appeared quite popular. Didn't Henri admit his identity? So let him come out and explain this matter. Listening to him, the head of the Inuyama family, Inuyama Kaga, felt a bit hesitant to speak, but didn't know how to say it at this moment. Shigeo Miyamoto spoke again and said, more importantly, the surveillance footage shows that he took away the Yasuji family leader, Yasuji Yoshiyuki. What? At this moment, a furious roar came out, and it was Yuan Jisheng who had just been silent. After hearing this, Orange Shenzong slightly lowered his hand. Genji heavy industry has suffered such a great disaster this time and will not give up easily. This person must be caught no matter where he goes. And he must find the Yasuji family leader, and it must be done as soon as possible. We must not let the family leader cause any trouble, and we must also pay attention to the fierce ghosts. Speaking of which, he glanced at Yuan Jisheng, who was still angry. This time Genji heavy industry has caused this disaster. The fierce ghosts will definitely think of falling into the well and throwing stones. On the one hand, we must take good protection. We cannot let the losses continue to expand. The whole of Tokyo is boiling again. This time it's not just the underworld. The police in Tokyo are searching for Li Ye's whereabouts. Even the supercomputer Himeji was deployed to view the entire surveillance system in Tokyo, but it was clear that the surveillance penetration rate in 2008 was really not high. And Li Yi could easily bypass it. They also searched for several Yenling who were bloodline Jielua everywhere. The effect of this speech is to be able to locate nearby mixed-race species. Fighting is useless at all, but finding someone is really helpful, like GPS. But Li Yi said, he's really not of mixed race. You might as well use a few long-legged sisters with this thing. You can still catch it for yourself with that one. Of course, he can only ignore these guys when traveling, because the real mixed-race Ari is beside him. Well, drawing pair clothes doesn't mean going out, just consider the issue of residence. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Am I also a mixed race? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Am I also a mixed race? What is Li Yi doing at this time? He took Shang Shanhu a pair clothes to eat at a ramen noodle stall. He had a great time eating, and Yusuji Yoshiyuki was also very happy. Yusuji Eri is happy because she ran out. Li Yi is happy because of the skyrocketing negative emotional value with a simple bombardment. This small emotional value skyrocketed to 5,000 and even continued to soar, and the ramen noodles master looked at the happy faces of the two young people and was also happy, as if he thought of himself in his youth. And then he spoke with emotion on his face. Li Yi didn't understand what he was listening to when he was in Urumqi, but I only saw Ari nodding her head all the time. Li Yi asked Li Yi what he said. Painting pair clothes written on cardboard, translated by Li Yi using translation software. He said he wants both of us to pay attention to safety and not let anyone die. Li Yi is a bit speechless. Can Hua Li Yi really understand what this means? And if I do something with you that can cause lives, I probably will do it. The words and spirits of Hua Li Yi are not for fun. Not to mention Li Yi, Steve himself probably has to kneel when he comes. The evening breeze is blowing gently, and the whole Tokyo is very nervous now, but the ramen noodles restaurant in this alley is very comfortable. Li Yi noticed the cocoons on the ramen noodles master's hands. Those swordsmen also had similar cocoons. Although the cocoons were covered by the ramen noodle spoons, Li Yi absolutely confirmed that it could not be pulled out of ramen noodles. Looking at his twisted muscles again, Li Yi seemed to understand this person's identity. It has to be said that it is indeed a coincidence. This is what he said to Yuan Jisheng, the biological father of Yusuji Ieyasu, Yusuji Yoshitaka, Yuan Jisheng, and Yusuji Iri, who became the head of the Yusuji family, the movie queen, Yusuji Yoshitaka, and Yusuji Iri. Li Yi couldn't help but smile. Do we never meet in life? But it's not yet time for this person to appear. He just gave a small shock to the Hakazaki family, and there are other shocks that haven't been brought out yet. Yusuji Ekigo was very late in his plan when he appeared, and Yusuji saw Li Yi's faint smile on his face, thinking that Li Yi had ignored his words, so he shouted at him loudly. Li Yi was a bit confused when he was yelled at, and then asked Hua Li to find out that Yusuji Ekigo had just been telling him to protect the girl and not let her get hurt, and so on. Li Yi also stood up and bowed, saying the Japanese word he only knew 3 times, aligato. The other 2 sentences are not suitable to say here. One is Yil Yao Dai and the other is Ba Jia Yilu. Then he pulled the painted pair clothes and left. After leaving, the ramen noodles master was still swearing he's such a mediocre little old man. However, Yusuji Ekigo doesn't know why he has a special interest in that girl. It's amazing. If it were someone else, he wouldn't say so much. Tokyo Bay. Now all the underworld in Tokyo has been deployed, not only the Hakazaki clan, but also the group of fierce ghosts. These guys went straight onto the street and fought against those Hakazaki clan members. The fight was quite fierce. What? Why did the Japanese authorities ignore it? Do they dare to manage it? In the original work, they all made nuclear bombs in the sea and didn't dare to interfere. You should know that the 8 families of Snake Zaki have a strong foundation, and they even have a ruthless person who can destroy the entire Tokyo in one day. Okay, now this tough guy is right next to Li Yi. It's still the same room. It's the room where he evaded the pursuit of the Hakazaki family. The most dangerous place is the safest. However, he had a little trouble coming this time. The rabbit talisman cannot be used by others, it can only be used by oneself, which is really inferior compared to time and zero. Moving too fast on Sujigami Ri will make her uncomfortable, and Li Yi is afraid that she will feel uncomfortable. He wants to open up Tokyo and play with it. Due to the influence of the fierce ghosts, the entire Tokyo is now in chaos. and most of the power of the Hakazaki clan is scattered in the Akihabara area. Still, because Li Yi disappeared there for these, Li Yi doesn't have many ideas. He is currently burning incense and worshipping Buddha, Sanqing, Buddha, Hallelujah. And the local boss Tianzhao Dashan even paid homage to the old lamp head of Byaden. Come up with something good. Li Yi looked at his strange appearance and also tilted his head. System, lottery, 5 times. 1,000 times, ding, the system lottery is starting. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining S.level Dragon Clan Blood, 1 bottle of corruption potion, world card Dolua Continent, 1 Pokémon Elf Ball, and Chinese language patch for all heavens. S. Level Dragon Clan Bloodline. The bloodline level is the first generation Dragon Clan bloodline directly under the Black King, but through system modification, it is only a normal mixed race species, not the first generation species such as the Dragon King. After using it, you are still a normal person, but you are now brothers with the 8 Dragon Kings. If you are brothers, it's time to kill them. Are you still worried that your eyes won't light up? Are you still worried that you don't have a B grid in the Dragon Clan? It's time to turn fake ones into real ones. S.level Dragon Clan Bloodline, you deserve it. Corruption Potion. Corruption Potion is an advanced potion from League of Legends, which can be used 3 times per bottle every hour. After drinking, it will slowly restore energy and health. World of Kaduluo Continent. A world where martial souls and soul skills are used as combat methods, with a world of gods and giant beasts. The plain strength is very suitable for beginners to start with. Pokémon Pokéball. Capture non-human creatures. Become a Pokémon Master. Of course, this thing has a success rate. It is recommended to use it after stunning Pokémon. Are you still worried about language barriers? As long as you use this, the whole world is speaking Chinese, and it will automatically convert others' languages into Chinese. Your language will also be automatically converted into words that others can understand. I knew you wouldn't learn foreign languages. Li Yi was immediately overjoyed, pulled over the painted pear robe, and gave her a kiss on the small face. Great. This lottery is simply outrageous. With S.level Dragon Blood, it can be arranged more in the Dragon Clan world. Although I have made a father for myself for no reason, there is no problem. I'll just give him a knife in a few days. Corruption Potion can solve his problem of insufficient battery life, and he can still run. After running, there are also many good rule-based abilities in Dolua Continent, and there is also a controversial protagonist Tang San online. Of course, if he goes now, he may not necessarily gain any benefits. Although this world is known as the Xuanhuan Sewer, Li Yi has not yet intervened in the Xuanhuan side. He is not as good as the sewer, but he remembers that Dolua Continent will awaken its martial soul at the age of 6. He is already in his 20s, and is it still useful to go there again? The most important thing is the localization patch for the language of the heavens. Li Yi has already used up this translation software. It's good to use, but it's troublesome. Troubled Brain Melon Seeds Buzzing System. Use S.level Dragon Clan Genealogy, and various heavenly languages localization patch. In an instant, Li Yi felt something inside him, and his understanding of the world seemed to have changed. Before, he used to see mountains as mountains and water as water. Now it's time to see the mountains as rocks and soil, and the water as hydrogen monoxide. Is this the authority of the Dragon King regarding alchemy? Because I am a direct descendant of the first-generation bloodline of the Black King, even if I am a mixed race, did I directly give some elemental authority to the Dragon King? Nowadays, although Li Yi is not a purebred dragon, he is not much worse than a purebred dragon. That is, he does not have a dragon body, no exclusive farewell spirit, no bone vase, no ability to devour the same species to enhance himself, and no. Okay, there's still quite a difference. What kind of thing is that? Although Li Yi is similar in bloodline to the Dragon King, his power are not comparable to those of the Pure Seed Dragon King. The Pure Seed Dragon King can even freely release various words and spirits belonging to his own lineage, and other lineages can even use them. not to mention the dragon body representing strength, but now Li Yi can be said to be a mixed-race king. The mixed-race king refers to a name that uses mixed race to purify one's bloodline through explosive health or other methods to elevate oneself to pure race, and Li Yi can be seen as forcibly suppressing a dragon king level bloodline, suppressing it to 50%, and then pouring it into Li Ye's body. Li Ye's own bloodline, belonging to the human part, also firmly guards 50% of the boundary at this moment, while Li Yi, who was sitting on the side, tilted her head. She felt that the man who had just kissed her seemed to release a wave of pressure in an instant. Of course, the little girl still doesn't know what kissing means. I just feel that the scumbag in front of me is quite happy. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Hanging cannot be opened like this. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Hanging cannot be opened like this. Li Yi continues to study his bloodline. He has all the bloodline of the Black King's own son level, so he doesn't even have a voice. When he thought of this sentence, something suddenly came to his mind. I'll face it. I can't even open this app so blatantly. Yenling, Tiamat in Babylonian mythology, the mother goddess who created the world, as a spirit of speech, it determines the existence of everything. The effect is exaggerated and frightening. If you reject that you are injured, then you are not injured. If you reject the life of the person on the opposite side, then there will be no such person on the opposite side. If you reject the existence of this world, then this world will not exist. Of course, it's not that exaggerated yet. This thing consumes energy bars, and there's no way to veto one's own energy bars, nor can one create something out of nothing through veto. I cannot deny that I do not have a dragon spell and then have the ability to do so. This should belong to the upper, and higher levels of the spirit of speech and discipline. Discipline suppresses you from speaking freely, while Li Yi directly deprives you of the right to speak freely. Assuming that Li Yi sees a dragon king, well, it's not Xiami. Xiami doesn't need to speak with a spirit to be able to kill him. Now, without speaking with a spirit, he is guaranteed to be able to kill too. Then the Dragon King on the opposite side released the spirit of destruction towards him. I'm planning to give you a piece of land that will collapse together. Hey, I deny that you used language skills, so his language skills disappeared. Then let's assume that Li Yi met the crazy criticizing Principal Henri, who attacked him with speeding. But Li Yi directly denied it, denied the mixed race identity of Principal Henri, so Henri is no longer a mixed race. Of course, this is just an imagination. This thing consumes blue bars, and Li Yi doesn't know if his blue bars are long enough, and this kind of veto has an upper limit. You cannot surpass the cognition in the Dragon Clan world, which means you cannot use this to veto the existence of Domam. He tried it and it was difficult for him to deny that he was injured. Restoring a heart would probably consume 5% of his energy bar. After all, Steve's life level is outrageous, but even so, the Dragon Clan world will be cleared directly. Okay, what are you afraid of? This already belongs to the Taigu permission. Right, the ancient authority is the apocalyptic prophecy of several dragon kings, bronze and the candle dragon of the king of fire, the Shiva dance of the king of the earth and mountains, the return of the ocean and the king of water to the countryside. And there's also Tiamat, the king of blocks and steel bars. As long as he has enough energy, it's just a matter of one sentence to end the world, but his current energy level is probably only enough to wipe out a building. And Tiamat also has a special effect that can absorb their power after killing the Dragon King. This is outrageous. Li Yi had a deep suspicion that this speech was prepared by the Black King for his immature and rebellious sons and daughters, and he asked him to bring it. Along the way there is another reason for slaughtering dragons. After absorbing dragon blood, Li Ye's 3-dimensional performance skyrocketed again. Now Li Ye's attributes. Current host. Li Huahua host bloodline. Human host properties. 5 is the pinnacle of humanity, durability. 20 spirit. 20 strength. 25.2 skills. Datization, rabbit spell, S.level Dragon Clan bloodline coins. 0 world. Marvel MCU World, Dragon World, Dolua Continent Warehouse. Prison Rock Sword, Elf Ball, Corruption Potion. Now Li Yi can say that he is both long-lasting and capable of fighting. Don't be fooled by the fact that his strength is only 25 points. If you compare him to the man who failed to pull the train in Toby's version, then he must be stronger of course. Li Yi is just a basic attribute high point. If you make him fight, he will still be a powerful brick flying style. In fact, Li Yi was thinking that if he denied a person's death, would that person be resurrected? In the future, when fighting, he should first kill that person, then resurrect them, and then kill them again, lasting 108 times. Hey, are you afraid there's no negative emotional value? Do whatever you say. After obtaining dragon blood, he is not tired at all. Of course, he himself does not have any physical fatigue, at most he has a satiety strip. Just eat some of this thing casually. He looked at the painted pair clothes on one side, and they were looking at him with a pure and innocent expression on their face. Turn around, I need to do something that only adults can see. Li Yi had a stern expression and told her. Hua Li's head tilted and he had a silly and cute expression on his face. Li Yi is also a bit puzzled, still can't understand. Didn't I load a Chinese patch? Is it possible that this patch is fake? And then he saw that Hua Li had written it down on the paper. I need to look at painting pair clothes. Li Yi was taken aback. Good guy, not only did he translate, but he could also translate what was written on paper. It's really one of the best in the world. Hua Li is a child, not allowed to look. Hua Li is not a child. What is painted pair clothing? Hua Li is a little monster. As Hua Li was written on paper, she also made a fuss at Li Yi with open teeth and claws. Even the little monster can't do it. I'm going to summon Ultraman. Then let Ultraman eliminate the little monster. It's normal for Ultraman to eliminate the little monster, isn't it? Li Yi slapped his forehead and said, let's go out and do it ourselves. Coincidentally, the 8 families of Snake Chi are searching for him now, and some people have dispersed. He will go and send warmth, 2 consecutive explosions, hoping that the 8 members of the Snake Zaki family will be okay. Do you think I'm blown up and starting to get nervous? No, not at all. I'm going to give you a little shock before you get nervous. Stay here, I'll go out and play games with you when I come back. Hua Li nodded and then extended a hand. Li Yi is a bit puzzled by her approach. I saw her write 2 words on the paper, pulling hook. Li Yi had no choice but to extend his hand and pull his big and small hands together again. Pulling hook. Li Yi arrived at the territory of the Hajimasaki family and casually found a small alley, then crawled in and pulled out the headless researcher's body. He used this person's card when he went underground to Genji Heavy Industries. We need to repay our kindness with gratitude. We have to try and see if we can get him put to work. It's obvious that we can't. Li Ye's eloquence is not enough to bring him to life. It's not because of the inability to speak fluently, it's because Li Yi doesn't have enough energy, which is a thought that came to his mind and inexplicably appeared. What should I do? So let's continue the experiment and randomly select an outstanding person from the Snake Sakurai 8 families to help test it. Okay. After testing by Li Yi, Yanling can indeed refuse human death. It depends on the strength of the deceased, the time of death, and the integrity of the body. Li Yi successfully resurrected only one woman, a civilian who was nothing. She was killed by Li Yi by twisting her head, and just as she died, she used the Great Resurrection technique. It also consumed 80% of his energy value. The little girl crouched in the corner with an incredible expression on her face. When she looked up and saw Li Yi, her face immediately became quite scared, as if she had seen something terrifying. Li Yi grinned at the corner of his mouth, revealing a smile that he considered quite gentle. Little girl, do you remember the past? What is 1000 minus 7? The little girl said in great fear. 900. 90.300. Li Yi nodded. His intelligence should be fine, and it seems that his memory is also fine. Well, then there's no problem. Wait, isn't this Lu Mingfei's? Don't die. Li Yi seemed to have a strange idea in his mind. This road was clearly not designated as having an affair with the Black King. Ding, horse riding +1, in my morning. What's the name of a bad woman? Li Yi was so scared that he threw his rock sword out and sent her to the west. He never thought of letting this woman go, and just as he was about to release this spirit, he had already decided to kill all the witnesses. A very grateful gesture of gratitude, isn't it? When he first arrived, the Hakazaki family gave him a death attendant, which helped him increase his negative emotions by a few points. So Li Yi needs to send it back twice as much. Li Yi looked at the gathering point of the 8 families of snake Zaki in the distance take out a few bullets that have just been borrowed from other places in your hand. Of course, they were not stolen. The affairs of a scholar cannot be called stealing. It's time to give the Hakazaki family another little shock. Not long after listening only to the thunderous sound, Li Yi stood on the other side of the tall building and watched as the gathering place of the 8 families of snake Zaki in the distance was completely destroyed by a wave of explosions. He quietly took another sip of the spoilage potion. This thing has the same recovery speed as potion 2, and its duration is not short, like 3 or 4 minutes. By the way, Li Yi now has a maximum health limit of 20, which happens to be his patience value. He drank this medicine mainly to restore his energy, and putting on such a long time of eloquence was even more detrimental to his already unwise mind. After drinking the medicine, he turned around. "You're here." A person appeared in front of him and slowly walked up the stairs, standing in front of him. The person who came was Yuan Jisheng. End of this chapter.